I could have set tonight out, but I decided to come on here anyway. I could sit here and tell y'all how many times I failed, how many times I got life wrong, and how many times I've fallen short. I could even tell you how many times I had to start over. But you know what? I'd rather tell you how many times God brought me through. Because if you know, you know. There were moments I shouldn't have made it out of. Moments where the math wasn't mathing, moments where logic told me to quit and fear told me to fold. But somehow I'm still here, still standing, breathing, learning, and advancing. That's the part people don't ever tell you about. The advancing man, he's not built on perfection. He's built on resurrection. He's built on getting knocked down, learning the lesson, and standing back up with more clarity than he fell down with. And when I talk about money, pressure, discipline, faith, I'm not speaking in theory. I'm talking from lived experience. And if you're still here listening, that has to mean God has brought you through a few of your own situations. So you already know the advancing man, he's built different. So today we're going to talk about how money speaks to the truth of that. So I'm going to say this plainly. Money doesn't make people better or worse. Money reveals people for who they actually are. That's why you can give someone $1 million and they still end up right back broke where they started. Same stress, same habits, same reactions, same decisions. Different amount, same mindset. Statistics actually show most lottery winners are broke again within the first year or two, not because the money wasn't enough, but because nothing inside of them advanced. Money doesn't heal patterns, it exposes patterns. And that's why money is one of the clearest measuring sticks in life. It shows you whether you're looping or whether you're advancing. Because here's the truth that a lot of people miss: a looping man stays broke no matter how much money he comes into. But an advancing man can lose everything, start from zero, and rebuild it with interest. Not because he's lucky, not because he's special, but because what creates money isn't circumstances. It's who he's become through experience and time. So here's how you know which one you are. A looping man keeps repeating the same mistakes, same seasons over and over, same stress, same bills, panic, the same reactions. He keeps asking life, why does this keep happening to me? But he never does anything to change it. But when it comes to the advancing man, he actually recognizes patterns. He doesn't ask why or act like a victim. He acts like a student. What is this trying to teach me? What needs to be corrected in this situation? What level am I being invited to graduate from? And what level do I need to go to? Because every point is a checkpoint, and money is usually the loudest indication on where you stand. There's a moment that always shows up under financial pressure. More than likely when the bill is due, your accounts are low, that check came late, unexpected expenses hit. That it's that moment right there that's a major pressure point. And that pressure point and that stress is what decides everything. Because most people immediately drop back into survival mode. They scramble, they panic, they make instant desperate decisions, and they say yes to a lot of things that they shouldn't. You also got people that compromise their values just for temporary relief. They make fear-based decisions to solve temporary problems, and they lock that loop in place. That's how people stay stuck. Not because they don't make money, but because every time pressure shows up, they respond the same exact way. The advancing man does something different. He pauses in the situation. He doesn't move from fear. He doesn't decide from panic. He doesn't react from emotion. He regulates first because he knows one thing. Any decision made in that moment from pressure, it's going to cost him a bigger price later. That pause alone separates men. Here's what most people miss. Your relationship with money is spiritual before it's financial. It's not about how much you make, it's about how you think, how you decide, and how you move when that pressure is on you. If your thinking is rooted in fear, the money amplifies fear. If your thinking is rooted in scarcity, money amplifies scarcity. But when your thinking is rooted in alignment with God as your source and your supply, everything changes. Not because money magically appears, but because your clarity returns to you. You start thinking instead of reacting. You see options you were blind to before. You move strategically instead of emotionally. That's why the first question under pressure isn't, where am I going to get the money? The first question should be, am I aligned right now, or am I operating from fear? Because if you're misaligned, even a blessing can turn into a burden. And this is where the science of getting rich gets misunderstood a lot of times. The book talks about efficiency, and most people think that just means productivity. But efficiency is actually faith in action. When you're efficient with what you have now, you're proving that you're ready to be given more. When you're not sloppy with the little things you possess and you're responsible with them, you just letting life know and God know you ready for him to trust you with more. And in order to be given more, you got to cut out the waste. You got to guard your time. You got to stop leaking energy. Stop spending emotionally and start spending intentionally. Not from desperation, but from discipline. Because this is what usually happens. The advancing man realizes he had way more than he thought he had in the situation. He was just unaware of where he was leaking and where he wasn't being efficient. And once those leaks are sealed, that's when multiplication begins because he knows that that's the law once he's identified the problem. Here's the mental loop that keeps people broke. I don't have enough. I need more. When I get more, you know what, man? I'll be okay. But let me tell you something, that loop never ends because when more comes, the only thing that happens is fear just moves the goalpost. The advancing man, he breaks the loop by changing the belief, not the amount. He practices grounded gratitude, not pretending everything is perfect, but recognizing what's true in and about his life. And he gives thanks. I'm breathing. I'm capable. I have skills. I have access. I got my health. I'm not starting from nothing. And he uses what he got. And that's why he doesn't operate out of desperation, because desperation creates debt. Strategy creates wealth. Now let's get practical. What do you do when that bill is due and you literally don't have it? You communicate. Don't run and hide. Don't avoid it. You need to stand on business by handling your business. Prioritize correctly. Food and shelter first. Everything else, that's negotiable. It's secondary. Make a plan, not a wish. You have to make a plan. And you work what's in your power to work. And you trust God with anything and everything else that's beyond that. That's faith, not foolishness. Faith works. Foolishness, it avoids responsibility and people call it belief. The advancing man, he don't rock like that. He works and trusts and he moves while he's believing. And this is where the advancing man separates himself in the most permanent way. He gets tired of messing up. He gets tired of being defeated and things being unresolved. He doesn't enjoy repeating lessons. He doesn't romanticize struggle. He doesn't stay comfortable being dysfunctional. He wants to do better. And more importantly, he wants to be better. That's why every phase of his life feels like a graduation to something bigger and better. He's not perfect. He makes mistakes. He falls short, but he also learns, and that's what makes him different. He forgives himself. He extracts the lesson from his mistakes and he corrects the behavior. Then he dusts himself off and he starts again with more awareness this time around, more discipline, and more alignment. He refuses to go backwards. He refuses to loop. And every time he chooses growth over shame, that man levels up each and every time. That's how he becomes the man God created him to be. So here's the truth, raw and uncut. You're either looping or you're advancing. Money just tells the truth about you. The advancing man doesn't fear pressure. He uses it to level up. He doesn't avoid tests. He passes them by learning from them and correcting his behavior. He doesn't worship money. He understands it and responds to it with the correct mindset. And once you become the kind of man who advances internally, money eventually follows externally every single time. So, if this message added value to you, do me a solid, grab me a coffee in the link below to support the channel, because it's your support that helps keep this work going and reaching men and women all over the world that want real tools that work. So on that note, y'all already know what it is. We're going to end it like we always do. All gas, no brakes. Lock in. Peace.